For the past few years, I have created many short films, cinematography breakdowns, and tutorials, and in this video, I want to give you all the best tips I have used to improve my filmmaking faster that you should take advantage of. Whether you are a beginner or have been creating for some time now, these tips will help you enhance your filmmaking today and remind you of the important details you might be missing that can push you to that cinema level. I've learned so much from every single video I've created, and here are 10 tips I've found throughout my process that have helped me get better. If you want another video like this with more tips I use, leave a like, drop a comment, and subscribe for more. The number one tip to improve your cinematography right now is to shoot from the shadow side. Also known as short side lighting, upstage lighting, side or back lighting, you put your subject between your camera and main light source, so you film them on their shadow side. This will give you more depth, creating patterns of light and dark across the image, which we constantly see done at the highest level in cinema. Pay attention to the movies and shows you watch. Notice how almost every shot is filmed from the subject's shadow side. If you place the camera along the same side as your key light, your image will have less depth, look more flat, and make your shots look less professional. Sometimes broad lighting is needed when it makes sense for your scene, but shooting from the shadow side is that good camera placement every pro cinematographer looks to achieve in their work for that film quality. If you want to learn more about this and more cinematic lighting techniques, watch this video already up on my channel. The next tip to improve your filmmaking is to always have variety in your shot selection. The more variety in what you shoot, the better the final outcome will be. This means mixing in wide, medium, and close-up shots, capturing details, actions of your subjects, and anything the audience should pay attention to in different ways. The more you change up what you capture, the more you can experiment with how you edit your shots together. Even within wide, medium, and tight shots, you can have low angle shots, overhead shots, over the shoulder, and many more. Don't just stick to how you always capture shots. Branch out, do something new and different, and always try to be creative with how you can visually tell your story. Even having variety in your compositions works too. Changing between symmetrical or center focus compositions, or left and right frame heavy looks. Even messing with the amount of negative space you leave in the shot. You could never go wrong having more variety when you plan and shoot your next video. The third tip is for improving your overall workflow. Consider less is more in filmmaking. Look at this from the gear we choose to create our projects. Yes, big Hollywood movie sets use a lot of expensive equipment with nice big lights and huge camera setups. But gear is getting to the point now where with a simple mirrorless camera and a solid lens, it's a lot closer to the gear they use on that level. For lighting, you don't need to overcomplicate the setup. Start with practical lights you can use or are already up where you're filming. Maybe you just need a simple setup to amplify what is already in your scene. With fewer things you need to worry and think about, you can make more meaningful decisions on other aspects of your work you should be focused on. This can also go for the stories you want to tell. Start simple, and as you grow and get better, you can get more complicated and add more complexities to what you share and how you create it. Tip number 4 for improving your cinematography. Sometimes the best movement is no movement at all. Not what is on camera, but the camera itself. You always want your movement to be motivated by the actions of your story. If the story calls for it, movement is a great way to enhance the story being told. But if you want to add movement for the sake of movement, your shots may not work out if it becomes a distraction. You don't want movement to take away from what is happening in a scene. Just because you don't move the camera doesn't mean you can't maintain the audience's attention. Static shots will always have their place in cinema, and some of the most well-recognized shots in film have been achieved with no movement involved. This is when you pay more attention to your compositions, lighting, and set design. So much can be expressed without needing to move the camera. You just need to understand what your story needs. And if you're filming all by yourself, don't pressure yourself to include any movement that can't be achieved in editing. You cannot be a successful filmmaker without putting in the time before you actually film. Pre-production is a must if you want your projects to succeed. No matter how big or small the end goal is, always have a plan prepared for filming. From brainstorming to location scouting to shot lists, this will make creating your final project less of a hassle. When I need to dive deep into planning, I use Milanote, the sponsor of today's video, to help me improve my projects. Milanote is a tool for organizing creative projects, and ever since I started using this, planning my videos and client shoots have been easier than ever. Whether you are creating a YouTube video, short film, reel, or TikTok, Milanote can help you visualize exactly what you want in the best way that makes sense for you. When creating a new board, you can choose from one of the ready built-in templates available to get you started on the layout if you're having trouble organizing your ideas. I have created boards for past short films and even my recent YouTube video on improving your cinematography with a Hollywood technique. You can see how I planned every single aspect of that video here through the chapters I discussed, with images I uploaded for inspiration and ideas. I also created shot lists with everything I wanted to include. Comparing this board with the final video, you can see how much work was needed to put it all together, and Milano made it simple for me to accomplish that. Milano has also made it easier than ever to add references with its web clipper tool. You can add their extension on Safari, Firefox, or Google Chrome, so when you find inspiration, you click on the little save button, choose which board to add it to, and have it ready to be placed anywhere on your board. I've also created boards for client work for weddings and engagement shoots, and I can have one place to share all my ideas with the couples. When they see the layout, they tell me how they get even more excited for their special day. I also create a gear list so I don't forget anything on the shoot day, and a list of locations we planned as I scouted the area to help me be more prepared and more comfortable with what I need to achieve. My board also includes video inspirations and ideas if I'm filming, so they can get a sense of what I'm picturing the final result to be. With this plan, I can go out, refer to my board using their app, and capture the moment. Pre-production helps make shooting a smooth experience, especially if you work all by yourself, so you don't come unprepared when you can be ready. If you want to use Milano, it is available for free with no time limit. You can sign up using the link in the description and start your next creative project. The next tip you should apply is to use natural light to your advantage. Learn about the best times to shoot. Observe how different times of the day can affect how your image looks in combination with the weather. Some of my favorite times of the day to shoot would be sunrise and sunset, dawn and dusk, and of course blue hour. I usually avoid shooting in the middle of the day, but if your story calls for it, then push into that look. If it's more cloudy, then I can branch out to shoot more midday since the light is more diffused and won't appear as harsh. Not everything needs to be shot with soft lighting, but these times of day can help make your shots look more professional if you're a beginner and don't know how to utilize harsh light yet and light modifiers. Even when shooting indoors during the day, I notice how the light comes into the space and create my compositions with that in mind. I use natural light as much as I can and then add artificial light to enhance what is already available. As you get better, you can experiment with any time of day and learn how to shape the light with diffusion and negative fill to create stunning images. For tip number 7, don't ruin your cinematography by only shooting wide open. Let's talk about the aperture of your lens. Sure, it might look pretty and dreamy to only have your subject in focus, blowing out the background, but you can lose the context and details of what's surrounding your character if you don't step down the aperture. Just because your lens can open up to T or f1.2, 1.4, or even 2.8 doesn't mean you should shoot there. Keep the wide open apertures for low lighting conditions when you can't do anything but let in more light. So don't be afraid to go to f4, 8, or even further. Let the audience see more of the environment. Watch older movies. The cinematography of that time used deep focus more than now, and you can see the attention to detail they put in their set design. This is another way to add depth to your scene, and you can tell a better story between your character and location if you don't blur out the background. Tip number 8. Let's talk about ways you can start editing much faster. I use DaVinci Resolve for editing and color grading my videos, and usually you open DaVinci, set up your bins to organize your footage, sounds, timelines, and anything else you might need to start working. Instead of doing that every time you start a new project, you should create an example project with everything already set up. This is not only for your bins, but if you have certain ways you use text or animations that you want unified across different videos, include that within this example project. Then when you load up DaVinci, copy and paste the example project, change its name, and start working faster. Also do this for color grading. If you have a certain node layout you use often, create it and put as much in as you can that you usually would use. Save it for later so you can apply it right away when you go to color grade. Any way to help us work faster is a must to do. Always serve the story you're trying to tell. You'll notice many tips I share with you will always be about serving the story. Every decision you make in all aspects of filmmaking should be to help tell the story you want to share in the best way possible. In cinematography, what does the audience need visually to understand what's happening? What do you want them to see or notice? What do you want to leave out and keep hidden for them to figure out? This can also be manipulated with the aperture of your lens, letting the audience see what the main character might not notice, or we want the audience to get sucked into how the character feels and blur out everything else. Lighting and camera placement can change how a character is viewed if you choose to leave someone more in the dark or brighten up their face. You always have to think about and make these decisions to tell your story in the best way possible. There is no time like now to start creating. If you don't start now, what better time will there be to start? Once you make that first project, you will make your first mistakes. You break it down and see what you had trouble with, what didn't work, and you learn from it. Starting is the hardest thing you can do because so many others choose not to in the first place. If you think you're too late, you will be late the more you wait. There's no age limit and it doesn't matter what gear you have when you start. If you look at my old videos, you can see my progress and how much I've improved throughout the months and years I've created, and that wouldn't have been possible if I never began. As you continue to create, you will grow and get better faster if you put in that effort, but you have to start now. You're just wasting time not going for it, and the only one that hurts from that is you. I hope you enjoyed these tips and consider them all to improve right now. If you want a part 2 with more tips and tricks for all things filmmaking, make sure to leave a like, drop a comment, and subscribe if you're new to the channel. I'll see you in the next one.